There's something to be said about trying lots of different jobs. You don't know what you like until you try it, right? Our next guest is Carmen Davies, a Poole legend. NHS night receptionist? Check. Worked in a motorbike training centre? Check. Sold insurance? Check. Worked for a French oven company? Sold advertising and helped set up a surf shop? Check, check, check. Carmen is the community manager for the Dolphin Shopping Centre. She is the heart of the shopping centre, and I cannot wait for you to hear her story on how she got there. Let's get into it.
Hey, welcome back to Work This Way by Foundry, recorded here in the Dolphin in Poole. Today we're joined by Carmen Davies. Carm, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
It is incredible to see what you and the team here have done as you've recurated what I would class as a shopping centre into the community asset. How did you end up in Poole?
I moved to Poole in 1987 with my family from South Africa. My parents divorced. My mum remarried an Englishman. They were in a biracial relationship. I was at boarding school in South Africa, but home was Swaziland. And mum just rang one day and said, we're moving to England. I was living in Camberley in Surrey, of all places, for about 3 months while we were looking for a home in Dorset. And I've been here ever since.
How old were you when you left Swaziland?
I was 12. So I was in a boarding school just outside Durban. And I went to boarding school with diplomats' children. I was at boarding school with Bishop Tutu's grandchildren.
Right.
So it was a really multicultural school. We had students from the States, from Denmark, all around the world, whose parents were predominantly diplomats around South Africa.
And then found somewhere in Dorset.
Yeah.
Was that straight to Poole?
Yeah, Broadstone.
Broadstone, yeah.
So I went to Poole, Parkstone Grammar for a little bit. It's a suburb of Poole. And it was really odd because although I'd been at an all-girls school, absolutely hated it. Just didn't like it. I was so unhappy. So then my mum put me in the secondary school in Broadstone called Corfe Hills. And I went there instead, mixed school, state school. And
you've still got all your friends from that school, right?
Yeah.
I know you're very tight in this community. Yeah. You've got a massive friendship circle.
Yeah. And a lot of them are your members. A lot of my friends are your members.
We're on WhatsApp groups together, so I know there's a lot of love for you.
Yeah. So we had our own king, and people would flee South Africa to come to Swaziland to get away from the racism. So I never personally experienced anything. At boarding school, I never experienced it because we were so cultural. But the only thing that my mum, it had nothing to do with race, when the king was coronated, my mum kept us at boarding school for the whole summer, and ours was 3 months. Because the king would send people driving around in cars looking for his next wife. And if he chose you, you had to marry him. So we were kept at boarding school. But that summer, we experienced a minute bit of racism. But I never experienced any racism personally until I moved to the UK. And someone at school, after school, said, go home, you monkey. I had to go home and ask my mum what that meant. I didn't know what it meant. I was that naive to it. But I personally had never had anything, nothing. But my mum did,
Would you go back to Swaziland?
Yes, in a heartbeat. I'd love to go. The opportunities never came around. And then it was like, I wait till the children are a bit older because I want to take them and I want them to see it. But hopefully within the next 5 years, I'd like to go home because I can imagine the changes are immense.
What came next after school for you?
I think my first proper job was at Exchange magazine. And my first job was selling advertising space in the adult miscellaneous section. I bloody loved it. It was so funny. So I worked there for 2 years. From there, I then went into probably my longest career or time spent in one job to Zurich Insurance.
Right.
So there I was taken on as a salesperson, working the phone, selling home and car insurance. Eventually, after 3-4 years maybe, I became a centre trainer. So I would train any new member of staff how to sell home insurance, claims, underwriting, all that sort of thing. But I would have to actually write the material, make up the presentation shows or the slides, and people would spend 6 weeks with me from start to finish because there was so much red tape.
Calm, 11 years for major insurance provider. Is working in insurance boring?
Depends which department you're in. If you're just in sales or customer services, it will get really monotonous. It's just the same scripted day in, day out. When you're in working with claims or underwriting, particularly underwriting, and you just see people trying to blag things. And it's comical, actually. It gets quite funny. when you
Sure.
get the stories coming in, you're thinking, what, that really happened?
That really could be quite interesting.
Yeah, that side was interesting.
Yeah.
And the training was interesting because I was writing the training. But yeah, if I was just on the phones as a sales rep, I think I'd have left after a year, 2 years.
So you did that for 11 years?
11 years, yeah. So I was in training for 11 years and then fell pregnant with Marley. Had him after a year, I was due to go back. And I thought, I don't want to go back to this full time at all. So I fought tooth and nail for them to take me back part-time because they were like, you're the training centre manager. How are you going to do that part-time? Yeah, I can do it. I can do it all part-time. And they agreed. And then literally 2 days later, they phoned to say, we're actually making everyone redundant because we're moving to India.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, okay, 11 years, great. I have a great redundancy package.
Sure.
And then it was, oh, no, actually, I'm going to get that on a part-time basis, aren't I? I need to go back full-time. Oh, can I come back now full-time? And my boss was brilliant. I'm still in touch with him now. And he's, you know what, just have garden leave for the next year. So they paid me for a full year of not having to go back to work. And then I got a lovely redundancy package after that, which was cool.
I'm pretty sure what's coming next then. Redundancy package, year of gardening leave, travel.
Bought Winnebago and off I went.
What year was this?
So this was 2004.
So in 2004, gardening leave.
Yeah.
You and Marley's...
my son, who's now 2, and Marley's dad. Jonathan. We imported a Winnebago from the States.
Hang on. You imported a Winnebago into the UK?
Into the UK.
I can just imagine this. Beauty. American plates.
Yeah, Florida plates.
Florida plates. Yeah. And off you cruised.
Yeah.
Where to? Where are you going?
We started Normandy, Brittany to Normandy.
Yeah.
And just went all the way down.
Wow.
All the way down to the south of France.
Yeah. Into
Spain, through the Europas Picos, into northern Portugal.
Yeah.
All the way down Portugal coast, all the way up until Tavira. One's Portugal, Tavira. Because of the size, it's impossible to go inland.
Sure.
Got caught a few times.
You had to stay on the major road.
Stay on the major roads.
But this is 2004. I imagine the roads in 20 years have moved on a lot in Spain.
Yeah.
But
the roads are always better than our roads.
Yeah.
They're huge, they're vast. And the dog. We took the dog as well.
So the dog, Marley, Jonathan, yourself, in the Winnebago, 12 months on the road through essentially Spain and Portugal, France, Spain and Portugal. And then drive back. You came back.
Yeah. Jonathan came back first because he still had a business here. So he had to come back because his business wasn't particularly coping well with him being abroad for over a year.
Yeah.
So he drove back. Marley and I had a bit of a jolly and then flew back. But because our house was still rented out, we then had to live in the Winnebago probably for another 8 months, I reckon.
Oh, my goodness.
In a field.
So you lived in Poole? You're back in Poole?
Yeah, in Blandford. So Jonathan's parents live in Blandford. They've got a huge field and the Winnebago was parked in the middle of winter in the field in Blandford. I was like, oh my God, just give me my house back. But it was rented out. We couldn't get it back any sooner. I didn't really know what to do with myself. So I was just taking on jobs, helping out friends. So I worked at a friend of mine, had a motorbike training school, taught people how to ride a motorbike. So I thought, that sounds like a bit of fun. When I worked for him for a bit, just as a receptionist, booking. I didn't teach anybody. My God, I'd have killed them. He actually taught me how to ride a bike. So I did I got my full bike license whilst I was working there. And then I probably had one of my most favourite jobs ever. It was half and half. I went for a job at A&E at Bournemouth Hospital. I was a receptionist at A&E. I'd start at 10 o'clock at night and I would be with someone at the desk until midnight. Then from midnight till 8 in the morning, I was the only receptionist at A&E. And oh my God, did I learn about people's behaviour. And I worked a Thursday, Friday and Saturday night. That was it. The prime times. The stories were just phenomenal. I'd love to repeat, but a lot of the ones that stick in mind are so rude. But at the same breath, also heartbreaking time.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I stayed there for about 3 years.
So you went into the NHS?
I went into the NHS. I would never go into nursing, and I actually take my hats off to the doctors and nurses.
Absolutely.
I could not do their job. Just being on reception and clerical was enough. I'd have to go into all the different wards in the hospital, handing over the paperwork. But the worst for me was when they were in resus. To this day, I'll never forget that smell. It was just an awful room.
Calm, 3 years, massive pivot again. What came next?
Birth of Alana. I hadn't really realised that I wanted any more children. I was quite happy with one until really Marley started school. I remember the first time I polished his school shoes, I just burst into tears. And I was just like, I think I need another one. I need another child. So very fortunate, fell pregnant again and had my beautiful daughter Alana.
Brilliant. And she's lovely.
Oh, she's a lovely girl. Yeah, she's super cool. Very blessed. They're both super healthy. And to this day, they are incredibly close. There's a 5.5-year difference in age between them, but they are thick as thieves, those two. And I hope they remain so
Good.
for the rest of their lives. So yeah, along came Milana.
And then back to work?
I decided to go back to corporate.
Wow.
I went to Nationwide on Richmond Hill. Absolutely hated it. Yeah.
Yeah. 10-year sabbatical from corporate life. Then you go back to it. What lured you back in?
What lured me back in? If anything, necessity. I'd been really out of work, then went back part-time for a little bit, and then had my daughter, maternity had run out, maternity pay running. So it was necessity more than anything. Sure. Yeah. And I knew corporates. I thought, I'll just apply. And I was
Nationwide.
Nationwide.
Then you step into hospitality.
I do finally go back to hospitality.
It draws you back in.
It draws me back, but it drew me back for several reasons. So Coast is a local surf cafe owned by a family that I'm really good friends with. So I went to work for them. So it's predominantly a cafe, surf shop, and then a beautiful clothing shop. We sold motorbikes, jewelry. We had event nights, and it was work, but it was fun.
It's a community hub still.
Absolutely.
Yes, on the weekend, you'll see.
The Coast
it's busy, and it's a real platform for people.
It really is.
A lot of people work in there as well during the day. So it's
and that's changed again. It's changed from that 3 years that you were in, but prior to that, it looks completely different from when we were there. And we had huge events at the back. That the pizza oven wasn't there, but it is the hub for Ashley Cross in terms of, I guess, just family time, getting together,
supporting the setting up of Coast with your friends. That's gone on from strength to strength, and it's still a great pillar in the community.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What was next?
I then decided I need to get a proper job. So I went to work for a French company. This is for a product manager for a company called Leconche. So Leconche make these beautiful ceramic ovens. I can go to France on this. I can do this. I can do that. Yeah, nothing like that at all. I just had to deal with the complaints.
Oh, goodness.
And after that, I was just like, oh, no.
Carm can imagine quite a liberating but difficult time with Marley and Alana.
Yeah.
Managing schools and preschools and after-school clubs and everything else. Trying to work. Did you move on?
I was with the children's dad for 25 years. We were never married. 25 years is a long time to be with someone because you take on each other's likes, dislikes, personality. So when you separate, I did go through the process of finding out who is Carmen. What does she want? What does that life look like for her?
You found Carmen again?
Yeah, I think. Yeah. I think. But obviously your priorities change. The children everything just revolved around my children, and everything, love life, things like that was shut out for a time because I wasn't ready. And then when I least expected it out of the blue, along came Ian.
Where'd you meet Ian? How did that happen?
I met Ian at Festival. So we met, we had a 2-second conversation, to be fair. He was with a lot of mutual friends. And he just came up to me and said, were you the girl walking around with the feathers and a cigar? I can't remember what he said. And I was just like, who are you? Anyway, that was it. That was our meeting. That was our party. And then 2 weeks later, his normal Facebook friendship request.
And I hear that Ian is taking
the unit
space in Kingland.
In Kingland, yeah. So Loop is a vintage clothing shop. Vintage and sustainable. It's all about sustainability. So vintage and pre-loved, well, he hates that word, but pre-loved clothing in Kingland, men's and women's, with a vegan hair salon at the back. Again, men and women as well. So 23 Kingland.
Fantastic. Let's all get behind Ian then. Carm, we are recording today in the Dolphin. Who'd have thought that?
I know.
3 years ago.
I know.
4 years ago when you first walked around here with a different lens with Denz Ibrahim from Legal & General.
Yeah.
About the same time that I was walking around here.
Yeah, probably.
Thinking about what we can do with some of the retail space here.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit more about your role, how you fell into that role.
Yeah.
How that role found you and your day-to-day here at Dolphin.
Okay, yeah, sure. Holly Newton, a friend of mine, she helped Legal & General, Kingland.
Conceptualise it.
Yes, absolutely, finding the tenants. And then from there, it was like, who's going to take over? Initially, my first meeting with Denz and Greg was predominantly about Kingland.
Yeah.
We need someone to look after Kingland.
It was a curation role.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So far different to what it is now.
Sure.
And Denz did show me a presentation of their ideas for the rest of the centre. And Gather was mentioned and Street Market was mentioned. But again, they were just like, we don't really know what we need, but we need someone to come in and help run this and this. So it was I was like, yeah, okay. So they sent me off. So we're going to do a presentation, come back to us. But then literally within days, we went into lockdown. So I thought, okay, that's that. As we came out of lockdown, the job known as community manager, which is the job role I do now, came up, and I got a phone call from John Gunrell saying, we'd like you to apply for this position. I applied. Thankfully, I got it.
Couldn't have picked a better person for this role.
I guess my job is really to connect the community in Dorset, the wider community, not just Poole, with the Dolphin.
Yeah.
Okay, and we do that by putting in events daily in my Gather unit.
Yeah.
Gather is a community event space for anybody in the community to use. To date, we've had over 1,000 events in the Gather unit.
Yeah. Always something going on in there.
Yeah, there's always something going on. Yeah. So it is my job to find those people, those businesses, those charities who want to do something within the Gather space.
That's a free space.
It's free. We don't charge. Very relaxed. But the one thing we stipulate is that there has to be something for members of the community to pop in, to dip in,
has to be
have
permeable.
A look. Yeah. Can I have a go at that? Can I learn how to do that?
Yeah.
So that's what Gather's all about.
We all know in this room, Legal in General have done this. Could you just give us an overview on Kingland and what we like to call Kingland 2.0 now?
Kingland is part of the Dolphin, which has over 20 units in it, and majority of them are empty. Legal in General look, how are we going to repurpose this space? What can we do with this space? High Street's dying. We don't want it just to sit empty. They decided, which I think was just so innovative of them, to give 10 independents an opportunity to bring their businesses to the High Street. It was free rent, free service charge for 2 years. And there was a lot of hand-holding, a lot of learnings on our part and their part of how can we make their businesses grow in this space that's been derelict for so long. The only way we can do that is to offer them free rents initially and guide them and teach them through on how to make their stories a success. So the 10 that started, some left within that free rent period. Just for no reason other than family life balance, particularly. Or
but also acknowledging that failure rates are still 3 out of 5
absolutely
in the UK.
Yeah, but also these people are having to work 7 days a week. And can I afford to employ somebody yet? So it's not that simple. Hey, there's free rent and you should just be able to make it work. It wasn't that simple. So some left and then some changed, but the 3 that have really stuck out or shone for us, Steve Retro is contemporary furniture, and then we've got Wild Roots, the plant shop, and we've got Grounded Coffee. And these 3 tenants have just excelled, and they all have double units. So Kingland's still growing. They are all paying rent now.
I saw Breakburner in there.
Yeah.
Great local brand.
Yeah, Breakburn. I've known Nick Jackson since I was 14. And he was selling clothing all around the country, but not in his own shop.
The top retailers, you can buy Breakburn.
They're doing really well.
And here they are in Kingland.
Yeah.
I think that's it's great credit to you.
Part 2 will, by the time this comes out, Part 2 will be on its way. So we've got Loop is now a tenant in Part 2. So and lots more to come. So we've really, and now in terms of the free rent period's gone, but we're still offering really soft leases. Still trying to get people back into business, independent business. That's it is the key.
It's a fascinating incubation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Test and learn.
Yeah,
pilot.
And there's been lots of learnings for us and for our tenants, and for us particularly because we literally did give a unit at one stage, no rent, no service charge, and off you pop. Yeah. There's your business.
Pretty much unheard of in our high streets.
But in that, we didn't give them the key learnings, the financial learnings or the legal learnings, like how does the business operate? What do you need to do? We learned a lot from those tenants as well. Yeah.
And now I know you layer that support in as well, which is amazing. Well done, Carm, because it is. I know it's not easy.
As Denz said to me, they are your babies.
Yes, indeed. Carm, I think you experienced those 3 years working front of house at A&E in Bournemouth. It must have been incredible. Must have taught you so many life lessons.
Oh, God, yeah.
The ability to diffuse, the ability to neutralise, the ability to talk to people who are being damn right rude to you. You strike me as a yes person. You like to say yes. You like to make things happen.
I think for me, the whole fear thing, and I think that's what has spurred me on, it's been fearful of stuff. Till I got to a certain age or a certain time in my life, I thought, what am I scared of? What am I scared of?
Tell Marley, is that what you tell?
I say to my kids, if you don't try, how are you going to know? Yeah. I keep telling my kids to spread their wings, reach for the stars. But if I don't lead by example, they're never going to do it. Somebody might not like you. Oh, dear. You might not like it. Oh, dear. But you will never know unless you try.
How did you end up owning a house in Mexico? And when was this?
This was pre-children. So this Marley would have been, oh, God, when was this? In the 90s. Mid-90s.
Who went down to Mexico in the 90s and bought a house?
We went to Mexico How it came about. Friends of mine, friends from Dorset, moved to Mexico. They went traveling around Australia with another group of friends, end up in Mexico, loved Mexico, and decided, you know what, we're not coming back. And literally just sent the keys back in the post for their flat.
Yeah.
They're actually living in the house.
Oh,
Fair
right.
enough.
They're your tenants.
Yeah. So we went on holiday with another group of friends, back and forth, but then fell pregnant. My other friend fell pregnant, and it didn't materialise. But still kept going back and forth to Mexico. And every time you went over, because of rainy season, then you'd have to repaint the whole house. And then it ended up starting to become a bit of a chore. So our friends, John and Gratzel, are now living in the house. They actually took the house on. When we say house, it was the basic.
We're talking shack.
It was a shack. It had running water to the toilet, but it was a shack.
Yeah.
But it was quite a large, massive shack with lemon trees in the front, banana trees at the back.
Sounds idyllic.
That house has now got 2-3 stories. But if that house went on the market now, we're looking at almost $300,000.
Good days.
And at the time, it was $10,000, 6,000 sterling.
Carm, you seem to be permanently in the Dolphin. Whenever I come in and out when I'm visiting Foundries, you're always here. You're always full of energy, smiling, always full of big hugs and love. What do you do to get some balance? What do you do outside of work?
What do I do? Okay, my favourite pastime, which obviously is not something I can do every weekend, is festivals.
Really?
I love festivals. I am just in my most favourite place or element in the world of festival. Any live music, any concert, any DJ night. So anything to do with music is probably my most favourite pastime. Wanderlusting around London. Shopping. Obviously spending time with my family, my children. I have got the most amazing groups of friends and different pockets of friends. Some friends don't know the other friends. And as I say, Ian and I have a group of friends who we've both known for years.
Yeah.
So we're both very blessed, is my point. I'm very blessed.
What does next year look like for you, Carm? What are your priorities?
Oh, next year is going to be busy. Kingland 0.2 is up and running. We will pretty much be at full capacity.
That is incredible.
So that's the goal. That's the focus. And then within that as well, to keep the community element going, all the social value going, make that bigger and better.
Yeah.
The events that we do, make those bigger and better.
Street market.
On those street markets, all of it.
Street food has gone live.
Oh, yeah.
Q3,
amazing.
Q4, 24.
Yeah. They're amazing.
Fantastic.
They're really smashing it. And it's really odd because initially we were so worried it wasn't going to work.
Right.
Pool's never seen that. Pool's never had that. And those boys are flying. They're all flying.
But they're smart because they're trading off-site as well as on-site.
Yeah.
They're trading through the food delivery apps.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's...
And if you're listening, come down to the Dolphin and get yourself really high-quality street food.
Really high-quality food, yeah.
Brilliant. What could Foundry members and our Work This Way listeners help you with?
By coming to the Dolphin, spending time within the Dolphin, obviously your Foundry members do, but people who aren't familiar with the Dolphin, come and have a look at what we've got. Now, we've got food and beverage, we've got retail, we've got education, we've got places you can stay and play, we've got leisure, all of these things. So come and use the facilities at the Dolphin.
Carm, Poole, forever home now?
Poole will always be my home. They will always be my children's home, but maybe for 6 months of the year, it could be somewhere else.
Sounds a dream. 6 months.
That's the dream. Yeah. Summers. I want a summer and a summer. Summer, spring, summer. Yeah. I just don't want any winters in there anywhere. What is it you enjoy doing, and what is it you love about Poole?
Poole's been an interesting one for me because I'm a West Country boy. I was born in Bristol. When I was asked by Dens, Greg, and Andrew at Legal & General to come and look at the Dolphin in 2019, about the same sort of time that you were looking around at pre-Kingland, I came down, it was freezing cold. And I remember coming to the Dolphin thinking, okay, there's some challenges here, like any high street in the UK. But I felt a connection to Poole. And I realised after my walk around the Dolphin, like everybody does, they go and have a drive around, and I went down to the beat and I went to get a coffee on the Spit.
Yeah.
And I realised as I came along Shore Road, that's where I used to come with my dad. And I loved it. We loved coming down to Sandbanks from Bristol and with my model boat. And as a kid, spent quite a lot of time down here. So I love Poole. Yeah. It's always been in me in some way, shape or form. But I've been away for a long time. Yeah. To come back and then have to immerse myself in the community here. It's a brilliant community. Eastbourne is a brilliant community. Yeah. Poole is also a brilliant community. And I've had to, it was the early days of Foundry, so it was me. and I had to really immerse myself, throw myself into the deep end. And that meant going out and doing all these things.
Meeting all these people.
Meeting all these great people. Yeah. And I've been really fortunate in Poole that the community really welcomed me, Foundry, what we were doing and our vision. And it's so evident in this location. Carmen, thanks so much for coming on Work This Way.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's great to be recording in Foundry, in the Dolphin Centre, in Poole. Really look forward to 2025 working with you on what's to come next with Kingland and with Foundry. We just can't thank you enough for all the stuff that you do, the energy you bring to the place.
Oh, thank you
and,
so much.
Thanks for being part of our journey.
Thank you for listening to Work This Way by Foundry. I love hearing about Carmen's ability to try different jobs and take risks and just say, I don't know if I'll like it, but I'm going to give it a go. It can be applied to any entrepreneur or anything in life. Doesn't have to be business to anyone who is listening. This episode was hosted by Adam Walker, edited by Josh Hall, and produced by me, Gary James, in Foundry Poole. Now, do me a favour and leave a 5-star review. See you next week.